Gopi Jana Vallabha Radhe Yasharanandana Bhajajanarandana Yasharanandana Bhajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachare. Slowly. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jayadara Madhava Kundrabiyare Jayadara Madhava Kundrabiyare Gopi Vallabha Radhe Gopi Vallabha Radhe Yasharanandana Bhajajanarandana Yasharanandana Bhajajanarandana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nittai Gariba, Haribo, Haribo, Nittai Gariba. The tiger of Premanande. Let me explain, at least when I sing Jaya Radha Madhava, the first time I like to start very slowly and prayerfully, and then the second time we catch up the speed, you know? So when you play the instruments, you have to tune into the person who's leading or not just carrying on there, you know? We all want to lead, nobody wants to follow, you know? Okay. So my humble suggestion is, why don't the ladies move aside and the men come a little closer? You know, you You're sitting all the way back there. Just move this thing aside and sit here, please. Yes. Because otherwise, it's very impersonal atmosphere. Everybody's spread out over the whole temple room. So, ladies, ladies, Matajis, just move aside. We're only a handful of ladies here. So, and the men, please all come forward. Okay, good. Somebody can take the harmonium away. Okay, so. Om Agyantmandasya Gyananjalashalakaya Chakshunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Sthapitam Yena Bhuttale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Swabadantikam Namam Vishnupada Kushabhista Bhuttali Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachayine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pasata Dishatarine Vanshakapatuvasha Kripa Sinuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Go Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why don't you move a little closer? Social distancing, is it? Pandemic is over, so yeah, so that's better. I'm a personalist. I like to see my audience and reach them, and yes. That's why I don't like PowerPoint presentations. Then people always look at the screen. No, I want to have contact with my audience. I don't want them to be all distracted and look at the screen. Yes. Okay, so today we have the topic of envy, right? Envy, our main obstruction within our relationships. So envy, very relevant topic for every one of us. It's very subtle. Please, everybody switch off your phones. Yes, so envy is very subtle. Very often we don't even identify it. It's so subtle. And that's why I like to discuss the topics, just so we become more conscious of it. And it very nice of Prajalpa have their roots in envy. So just very nicely. So before we begin with the topic, let us first of all become more clear where this envy comes from. So first of all, in the 5th canto, in one word for word translation, it is said kalaha, meaning the envious, and then in Prabhupada puts in brackets almost everyone. Almost where we hear how envy is not meant for us to detect envy, and it always cuts out. It usually means the batteries are getting flat. You hear this? It is not, yeah, I prefer the mics with cords, because very often it cuts out and then we have to change the batteries and all that. Anyway, so yeah, very often in this discussion, we may think, oh, this is why my senior treats me like this, because they must be envious of me. But we don't want to use this discussion to detect the envy in other people. We want to use it to detect the envy in our hearts, right? Yes. And also, let us understand, as soon as the goal is sense gratification, immediately envy and competition comes in. Because as soon as we want to enjoy, we have this feeling, oh, somebody else is maybe enjoying more than me. And we want to use all relationships in order to establish our superiority. That's what envy means, right? Yes. So very often we use this word envy towards people who have something which we don't have. But actually, we can see it as a certain state of heart. And that consciousness comes out in all relationships. Not only with seniors who have something which we don't have, but definitely amongst equals, just the same even towards juniors. Even though we are already superior, but still we like to establish one more time our superiority and enjoy that perverted gratification. Yeah, so envy I like to understand as a certain state of heart, which comes out in all relationship. It's a certain consciousness, actually. Yes. Yes. So as soon as there's sense gratification being the goal in life, envy enters. Yes. And competition. Like that. Okay, so let us turn to this verse. This is 4th Canto, 8th chapter, verse 34. And I actually prefer if you don't look at your phone, because I want to collect with you in a little bit of an interactive way, as much as our time allows, and aspects of the envious and the non-envious behavior. So if you're simply reading from your phone, that is not so effective. So I would like you to hear very attentively, and then we can, collect the different aspects. So 4:834, I will chant once through the Sanskrit. Gunadikan mudam lipshet anukusham gunadamat. Maitrim samanad anvichenna tapir abhibhuyate. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Every man, and I mean here man means human, not man in opposition to woman. So every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. So that's already an interesting statement, that if we just learn how to act without envy, we will not be affected by the threefold miseries. Wow, amazing. Yes. So let us read the purport. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. So Prabhupada uses the word in that term, that we are envious of somebody who has something which we don't have. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. So one more time, the statement is there, that if we if we act in an envious mood, we will be miserable. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him, just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. And Prabhupada, in the last sentence, he often hits the nail on the head. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. So just say, we can be happy in this material world, even here in Pune, if we just learn how to act non-enviously. And we can say, in the spiritual world, Prabhupada describes that there is no tinge of sense gratification. It's not existing in the spiritual world. And therefore there's no envy. Yes. So if a person is here really free of envy, he must be a pure devotee, right? All his desires for enjoyment must be purified and cleared off. So, and therefore, he is in one sense already in the spiritual world within his consciousness. He is not part of this material world. And therefore, one can be happy even in this material world, because in one sense, one is not part of it, but already in the spiritual world. Because usually we always say we cannot be happy in this material world, right? Yes. So then one may think this is contradicting. How come Prabhupada says one can be happy? Yeah, because if we are free from envy, then within our consciousness we are not part of this world, right? Okay, so now let us have a look at these different relationships. Let us begin with our relationship towards seniors. We may remember what was the non-envious way. How do we receive a senior when we are non-envious? Happy, jolly. So in other words, let's go first to the envious one and finish on the good note. So in other words, an envious person would not be so happy to receive a senior, right? Yes, we would not be so jolly. We may ask or say, oh, nice, Prabhu, nice to see you. How long are you staying? Oh, 3 days. Okay, good. And we may think, oh, thank God, after 3 days he's leaving again. So I have the seen here to myself. I am the center of attention, right? That would be the envious behavior, that we are not so jolly. And what else do we do when we are envious and a senior person visits our community? We don't serve them. Okay, so what do we do instead? Yeah, we neglect them, we ignore them, we don't give them any attention, we pretend they're nobody and nothing, not worth giving any attention to, right? That's how we try and reduce that person's position. And what else do we do? What else do we do if we are envious of a senior? Especially of a senior, but even equals also. But what do we do when we are envious? We talked about it yesterday. Huh? Yes, we try and find faults, right? You were all here yesterday, all of you? Yes. Yes. So then we don't have to go too much into the details. Yeah, we try and find faults. We criticize. We talk badly behind his back just to diminish his importance. Yesterday we were saying this nice example, senior person leads a kirtan. A friend of ours says, oh, that was a nice kirtan. And then we say, yeah, it was all right, but his melody was not so nice, his madanga playing not so good. So, as we said yesterday, even if it is true, just the fact that we want to express that shows envy, even if it is true. And as we mentioned yesterday, very often we overlook this because the contaminated intelligence justifies. Well, it's true. What's wrong about saying the truth? So that's interesting how the false ego contaminates the mind and intelligence and finds all the justifications that we say the right thing and we have, a good reason to express it. Or we say, well, I'm just sharing with my friend, my experience in the kirtan, But actually, if we look within our heart, we have to detect some envy there. Yes. Yeah, so let's go to the non-envious behavior. Receiving a senior. What do we do? Well, we said already we are happy, we are jolly to receive him. So what else do we do? We facilitate him. We serve him. So how do we serve? Yes, so we in a menial way, pariprashnena sevaya, in a menial way we serve and we inquire, we hear. Right? Yes. That's how we are meant to associate with a more experienced person. That we offer humble service and we hear, we inquire. Yes. These days, maybe you noticed, people love to talk about themselves instead of inquiring. They like to talk about themselves, their big achievements, this, that. So to do that in the presence of a senior person would be inappropriate unless that person asks us, oh, what are you doing? What is your service? Okay, then we humbly can share. But just to talk about ourselves, not the proper etiquette. Yeah, and I mean, there's many other subtleties. Let's say we are preaching to somebody and then a more senior person comes. So then we hand over to that senior person. We don't continue answering their questions and all that, but that would be a little showing off in the presence of the senior person. So then we immediately let the senior person answer and not we answer, yes. Yeah, so there's quite a few rules of Vaishnava etiquette to help us let go of our false ego and our envy. Yes. Yes, and interestingly, these two aspects of serving and inquiring, they actually enhance each other. So the more we humbly serve, the more we are eager to inquire and hear from that person. And the more we hear from that person, the more we are eagerly want to serve. Like that, the two aspects enhance each other, so they're very important. And not only with visiting preachers, but any senior devotee, That's how we are meant to associate. That's how we take advantage of their presence, that we squeeze some nectar out of them. Because sadhu will only speak if people are eager to hear. But if people are not eager to hear, no need to speak, So that's how we show our eagerness to capture something from that person. So let us move on to our relationship with juniors. So what is the envious behavior? Can anybody remember from the purport or verse, how do we behave towards juniors when we are envious? Yeah, you're always giving all the answers. We should give the others also a chance. So we deride them, right? We push them down. We are condescending, we say in English. We talk down on them. Even though we are already superior anyway, but we kind of want to enjoy in a perverted way the superiority by pushing them even more down, right? So the mood is, when we are envious towards juniors, the mood is, all right, I want you to come up, but definitely not higher than I am. Right? Yes. I'm always here, you will always be there. Yes, that's the mood when we are envious. Actually, sometimes when we delegate tasks to a junior person, a non-envious way of delegating would be that we follow up. We ask, oh, how are you doing? Do you need some help? Do you need more money? Maybe you need more manpower. So that would be a sign that we want them to be successful, right? Maybe, the non-envious way would be that we want them to be more successful than we are. But the envious way of delegating, we will have the mood, either you do it or I do it. And okay, you want to do it? Okay, fine, you do it. Good luck. And we don't follow up, because maybe deep in our hearts, we actually hope that maybe they're not so successful. And then we can say, just see, I knew you can't do it. I knew I should have done it, but you wanted to do it. So now you see what comes out of it. So next time I better do it. So behind that kind of behavior, there is definitely some subtle envy there, because we don't want them to be so successful, and therefore we definitely don't follow up, we don't offer our help, and, yes. Yeah, so good to understand these things, because it's also subtle, and very often we don't identify them, So there's a few more things what we do with juniors when we are envious. Anybody has some idea what do we do when we are envious with juniors? Or you all are not envious and therefore you don't know? Huh? Very true. Yes. We unnecessarily or overly harshly and constantly chastise them and correct them. That is also a sign of envy, that we always pick on them and we always want to put them down and yes, as we said in the beginning, let us not allow our minds to think now, oh, just see it. That's why my authority, my senior chastises me all the time. He must be envious. No. If we think like that, what does it indicate? That we are envious. Yes. So let us not allow our envy to manifest in such a gross way, Yes. But good to know if we overly, harshly, constantly, unnecessarily chastise, correct, and. And this sometimes also comes out towards children, I have observed this, especially in the Western world. If a mother works full time in a career and in the evening she's all tired and then she lashes out on the child, and all that frustration and anger and envy comes out and the poor child gets it all, and often doesn't even know what's happening, Yeah, so we have to be very careful. In fact, there is even the Vaishnav etiquette that one should not correct somebody if we are not non-envious. So, but if everybody almost is non-envious, so that means nobody can correct anybody. So what to do? So at least we should be very well aware that we have to be very careful when we correct others. For example, if we find ourselves in the situation when we see somebody doing something wrong and we get very irritated and agitated about it, and I have to tell this person right now, how can you do it? Oh, don't you know? And blah, blah, blah. So if this strong urge is there that we have to give the correction right now, it always means it comes from a false ego motivation, false ego envy. Envy, false ego, they're very close friends. Yes. So if we find ourselves in this situation, we should not correct, because the most perfect correction becomes poisonous if it is given with false ego and envy, because it ignites the other person's false ego and envy in their hearts, and it is contaminating. We may have been in the situation of being on both ends, either giving the correction in a huffy false ego mood or receiving it, right? So how do we feel after giving it in that mood or receiving it? How do we feel? Huh? Do we feel good? No, we have this ugly feeling in the heart, and we may be thinking, well, the correction was right. I had to give it. After all, I'm the counselor or, the head of the department. But no, we feel so bad and ugly because it is given with false ego and envy, and that contaminates our heart and their heart. Yeah. So good to know this, even in dealing with children, because children do provoke the false ego of the parents, Yes. So We cannot be surprised if our children don't want to accept the correction. They rebel. Maybe because we have given it in a false ego mood, maybe. Yeah, because it's so subtle. Yes. Yeah, so usually I tell people, wait until you cool down, and only then you give the correction. This may mean you have to sleep it over for one night, and then on the next morning, the world looks already different, But yeah, we have to wait until we cool down, until we relax, until this agitated urge to give this correction right now is over, and only then we can give the correction. And even then we can also have this prayerful mood before we give the correction. Please, Krishna, help me to make this correction in the mood of being the dear, most well-wishing friend, wanting the very best for this person. So if we have that prayerful mood, then Krishna allows us to be non-envious, at least for those 2 minutes when we give the correction, right? Yes. So, and also, if we are envious towards juniors, we may not want them, we may not give them good service opportunities. We may feel threatened that they become more successful than we are, So that's also a sign of envy, that we don't really give them services according to their capacities. Of course, when a new person comes to Krishna consciousness and they have some high material qualification, we have to be careful not to give them too quickly, some higher positions or something simply based on their material qualification, because that can feed and boost their false egos and can make them offensive towards the seniors. That people think, oh God, look at me, I can already do all this, but these spaced out senior devotees, they can't even get it together, So that's why Prabhupada recommended, when a new person comes, even though they may be very qualified, they should first do menial service, cleaning the floor, this, that, Yes. Just to learn to become humble servant. But if we give people for so many years menial service, then, that shows some envy. And of course, here in India, we often have, paid people doing the menial services. This, of course, it has a lot of advantages, but it also can have disadvantages. Yes. Yeah, that we lose this humble mood of service. I mean, in the Western world, we can't afford to pay people for cleaning the floor or washing the pots. There you might sometimes see the temple president after the Sunday program going in the kitchen and cleaning the pots, But here in India, we think, oh no, I'm the temple president. Who am I to clean the pots? Yes, I mean, somebody was once telling me, I haven't verified it, but apparently they told me that Prabhupada said, yes, in India, everybody has servants also in the homes, This creates the Ravana mentality. Somebody was telling me, I haven't verified it, but sometimes, we lose that humble service mood, or the menial things, or, or the maids are doing. In the Western world, no maids, too expensive. We have to do it all ourselves, and then we become more easily a humble servant. Of course, we can say we can save time for chanting and doing other things, but we have to be careful. Yes, so now let's move on to the non-envious behavior towards juniors. What's the non-envious behavior? What did Prabhupada say? Who can remember? Not you, but maybe somebody else. Anybody remembers what Prabhupada said? How do we deal with juniors if we are non-envious? Huh? No, Prabhupada said something else. What did Prabhupada say? Come on. You've got a big sign out there. You've got a department. Huh? Compassion, yes. Jiva department, right? Yes. So we affectionately, compassionately reach out. We want to uplift them. We want to become them more. We want them to become more successful than we are. That shows true non-envy. If we are envious, we will not want them to be more successful than we are. You know, that's a challenge to our false ego, to make somebody more glorious than we are. You know, that's the mood. You know, that's the mood. So a non-envious person knows how to connect with every living entity, no matter who they are. And Prabhupada was the perfect example of that. Prabhupada could connect with a small child, with a hippie, with a drunkard, with a scientist, with a Christian priest. Doesn't matter who they were. Prabhupada knew how to connect with each and every person for their upliftment. And sometimes Prabhupada was very heavy, chastising people, calling them fools and rascals, moodhas, and but people in general, they did not take offense because they could feel that Prabhupada was 1,000% non-envious, that Prabhupada was their dear most well-wishing friend, that it was for their very best that he spoke like that, right? So, but we can't imitate that. Sometimes we may think, well, Prabhupada talks, about non-devotees like this, so we can also call them fools and rascals and moodhas. But no, because our heart is not free of envy. That's why very easily there is some pride and arrogance mixed in, that we think, oh, look at these moodhas, these fools, not remembering that, only a few years before we also were in ignorance and we were doing all kinds of things which we should not have done, Yeah, so we have to be very careful that we don't imitate Prabhupada like that. So now let us move on to the relationship with equals. What is the envious behavior towards equals? What did Prabhupada say? Anybody remember? You don't remember? You remember everything. How do we associate with an equal when we are proud? When we are envious, I said it. We are proud of our activities. That's what Prabhupada said. So I gave the answer myself. Yes, that's what happens. Two people meet, and when there's envy there, we are proud of our activities. We chant our glories. What we've all been doing, this, that, the other thing, and again, we can all justify it by saying, well, I'm just cheering. I'm just cheering with my friend what I've all been doing. So what's wrong with that? Aren't we allowed to share? But yeah, it's very subtle how, in what mood we are sharing, So between equals who are envious, there is the mood, yeah, all right, we are equals, but actually I'm a little more advanced. And I'm going to prove it to you. That's the word. So let us imagine an example. Let us imagine two not so mature preachers meet. And one says to the other, oh, guess what? I was in Delhi at the Rath Yatra, and they asked me to lead the kirtan. Even though there were so many Mahajas there, but they asked me, you want to have a look here, YouTube, I'll show you. Me leading the kirtan at the Rath Yatra. And then, at the stage program again, they invited me to speak. Amazing, I couldn't believe it. And then I flew to New York, and guess what? Again, Rath Yatra, and they invited me to lead the kirtan again. And so on, And then after a while of carrying on, he says, and what about you, Prabhu? What have you been doing? So by then the other person says, well, I've done nothing compared to you. You're so great, I'm nobody. So he won the competition. So these things in a very subtle way, they're all taking place. I've witnessed it all, so we're pretty good in chanting our own glories, trying to establish that we are just that little bit more advanced and so on. So now, what's the non-envious behavior between two equals? What did Prabhupada say? Who can remember? Yes. We treat them like friends. So now we may say, but friendship we can always have also towards seniors and juniors. Why equals? What's the special thing there? So there is a very special mood amongst equals if they are non-envious. There is also a kind of competition there, but that competition looks very differently. What's the competition there? Trying to serve and please the other one. Yes, exactly. Due to Vaishnava humility, actually both consider themselves less advanced. And they like to treat each other as the superior. Right? Yes. So, and then this way, they push each other forward. Now you give the class, Prabhu, I want to hear from you. And you lead the kirtan, your kirtans are so much more spiritually empowering. And so they push each other forward. And that's exactly the mood in the spiritual world. Prabhupada describes this in one purport. How in the spiritual world, even the most beautifully chirping birds, they rather want to hear the glories of the Lord chanted by the bees, and how the gopis actually experience more bliss pushing the others towards Krishna and assisting them that they make the most pleasing arrangements for the Lord and not pushing themselves towards Krishna, Yes. So we can just imagine when our guru visits, usually we're pretty keen to push ourselves forward and get the credit and be noticed. And we're not so keen to push the others forward and simply humbly assist them. So that just shows how far we have to go to actually be qualified to enter Goloka Vrindavan, Yes. So, this friendship amongst equals, is very sweet and confidential, because also there's some very intimate sharing happening, which we can only share amongst equals, not towards seniors, not so much towards juniors. So there is this very intimate, confidential inquiry about each other's secrets of their spiritual life. That, for example, one says to the other, "Oh, Prabhu, you've been a brahmachari for 35 years, distributing the Prabhupada's books every day. How do you do it? What's your secret?" Right? And then the other one may ask, "And you, Prabhu, you've been married for 35 years. What's your secret?" And you're still there, and following everything and making your contributions in seva and financial and what's your secret? How do you do it? 35 years of marriage? So like that, people in a very confidential and intimate way, they share their secrets and they inquire from each other. And that makes that friendship so special, because you cannot share and inquire in such an intimate way towards juniors or towards seniors. Yes. So now my question to you: which relationship is most purifying? Towards seniors equals juniors? What do you think? Yeah, is that what everybody thinks? Yeah, you're right. Yes. Often people say towards seniors, because of course seniors, we also learn a lot from them, especially in our beginning stage. But the actual, the deepest purification is really there amongst equals. The equal association brings to the surface the most pinching and biting envy from the most hidden corners of the heart, right? Yes. Yes, because when we associate with seniors, not so difficult to say, yes, I'm a humble servant. And we may hope that some of his glories splashes over to us. That we say, oh, look, it's almost always me next to Guru Maharaj. In every picture, I'm next to him. So he is the most glorious person, and I'm the next glorious one behind next to him, Yes. So we hope that this gives us some glory. And towards juniors, also pretty easy to say, yes, I'm their humble servant, and. But equals, that's where true color comes out, whether we want to be a humble servant or whether we just want to be that little bit more advanced and senior after, Yes. And I mean, we have famous examples in the Bhagavatam, like Prithu Maharaj and Indra, when Prithu Maharaj wanted to do the 100th horse sacrifice. While Prithu Maharaj had 99 and Indra 100, no problem. But as soon as he wanted to do the 100th, then Indra, what did he do? Stole the horse so that the sacrifice can't go on. So that's the difficulty amongst equal association, Or another nice example is when Lord Brahma was visiting Vaikuntha to see the Lord. And then the gatekeepers asked him, oh, who are you? Which Lord Brahma are you? And Lord Brahma got all agitated. What do you think? I'm Lord Brahma, don't you know? So, and then the Lord, what did he do? He called all the Lord Brahmas, to come. So he gave him equal association. And our Lord Brahma only has 4 heads. Then he got a bit humble. Okay, there's other Brahmas who have 10, 100,000 heads. Became more humble, Yes. Yeah, so, and we may also have this example in our own life, like cooking lunch for Guru Maharaj. If two expert cooks cook lunch for Guru Maharaj, this can be very intense, because everybody wants to prove that they know better, and now Guru Maharaj can't eat this, and now he changed his diet, and immediately competition there, you know. Yes. Yeah, so that's the power of eco-association. And from what I know, His Holiness Varna Swami, he has this famous formula for association. Out of 100% of association, 60 should be spent with equals. 60%. And only 20 with juniors. And 20 with the top, with the most senior. Yes. So while we are younger in devotional life, this may be quite natural. But as we become more senior, 60% of equal association, that's not so easy to find. And as far as I understand, this formula is not a shastric one, but he simply wants to express how important equal association is, and that we have to be eager for it. And if we don't have 60% equal association, we should be alert in fear, understanding, yes, I don't have so much equal association. I have to be careful that I don't get too carried away and all that, you know. Okay, so I'm not sure. Do we have anybody who was not here yesterday? Who was not here yesterday? Few people. Well, then maybe I should just quickly mention one more time something about these books I published, because I have actually established an institute for spiritual culture. I have, for over 20 years, I've been preaching in Bangladesh and received a lot of insights into, you know, our Vaishnava culture. And I established this Institute for Spiritual Culture. I put some courses together, which I teach in Mayapur. And now I'm putting these courses in book form, so it can reach more people, because all these courses are 15 hours per course, and not many people can come all the way to Mayapur to take these courses. So, Spiritual Culture, Krishna's Divine System. This book is all about women. We women have a very powerful Shakti, and Bhagavatam says we should use this Shakti to empower the men and not to compete with them. But because of this man-woman equality understanding, we women often compete with the men. And the men don't really like this so much. Maybe you have noticed, whoever is married. Yes, so this book gives insights into, you know, that this man-woman equality actually puts the whole human society upside down. So that's why this book is also very important to read for the men, even though it is all about women. But the men should also understand the important role we women are meant to play. Because, you know, we are meant to be the power of inspiration to the men. You know, yes. So if the woman's role is not understood and it's neglected, then the whole human society goes down. And this is what's happening in Kali Yuga, you know. So very interesting, very helpful for married life. It's a must for every soul in a woman's body, and also every soul in the man's body. Okay, sheltering relationships. This is all about the importance of having a counselor. That this should not be just some external formality, but deep in the heart, we actually have to take shelter of our counselor. So when you read this book, you will be convinced that without having a counselor and eventually becoming one, we actually cannot make advancement. And that topic of envy is in this book actually. And I give 5 very practical steps how to actually subdue and dissolve the envy. We didn't have time to discuss this, you know. And there's also the culture of correcting others, culture of respect. So very, very helpful for anyone, you know. And then we have the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. False ego, very subtle. We often don't identify it. And easily we can feed and boost the false ego, all in the name of Krishna consciousness, instead of subduing and dissolving it. And there's also a whole chapter on chanting the holy name. I do conduct holy name retreats, so this is like a summary of a holy name retreat in there, how to chant so we actually receive the benefit and the power that the holy name carries. Also very helpful for married life. You know, married life can be the battlefield of false egos, who is right, who is wrong. And then we have entering the Grihastha ashram. It's like a handbook for matchmaking. Because here in India, the matchmaking needs to be a little refined. People often only look at caste and money, but all other, you know, devotional levels of compatibility, often the parents, they don't know about them, they don't look at them. And the most important thing is we have to give people more time when they enter married life to discuss topics. Like here is a whole list of very important questions and topics, over 200, that should be discussed before we marry. Just to be clear, are we having the similar moods and goals and tastes and standards we want to follow? Because in Krishna consciousness, you know, it's such a broad spectrum where we want to be. Do we want to be on the casual, you know, and liberal side, or do we want to be on the strict and traditional side? So that all has to match, you know. And saying this doesn't mean that we are promoting some boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. No, people should meet. You know, in a closed room, no romantic walks, in the presence of a parent, a matchmaker, a counselor, and go through the topics and see if it is compatible. Yeah, very important. So this book is helpful for all those who are not married yet, for parents who have teenage children, for mentors, for counselors, anybody who wants to help people settle in harmonious and compatible marriages. And then last but not least, family life as an ashram, secrets of success. How to create this culture of bhakti in our home life. Many married devotees' home is not such a suitable place for cultivating bhakti. We cannot call it an ashram. So this is very practical, how we have to transform our habits and home life to actually really make progress. And there's so many other things, mood and attitude of husband and wife, and so many things, duties, and how the wife makes her idea his idea. You know, so many interesting things we have to learn. Yes. And there's a whole chapter on physical intimacy in marriage. How to live this principle of no illicit sex life. There's a lot of confusion over this. Nobody talks about it, especially here in India. It's like a taboo. So I did quite a bit of research and I came across interesting instructions and episodes with Prabhupada, which hardly anybody has heard. And that adds a whole different perspective to the topic. So I hope this book will make our family life more Krishna conscious and at the same time emotionally healthy and balanced. So if any of you would like to get some books, these 3 books are 350 each, the 3 last ones, and the first 2 are 300 each. Many people get the whole set. That's 1,650, and you can pay cash or with QR code. So if anybody wants to get some books, please come up right now to the table and we'll work it all out. Okay? Shall we ask for a question? Or yes? One question about envy.
Mataji, very nice class. Here we are discussing about the dealing with the different devotees, equal, junior, and senior. So sometimes it becomes difficult to how to choose who is equal,
Yeah,
who is junior, or who is senior.
yeah,
In the
that's a
sense,
very, very common
because
question.
sometimes even junior may have better service attitude than me, or even so then
Yeah.
becomes
So how to see who is equal, senior, junior? Well, the ultimate criteria is one's Krishna consciousness, one's power of uplifting others. But this cannot be so easily judged, right? So that's why we take more external and in one sense material criteria, you know? So of course the most common one is, when did this person get initiated? First initiation, second initiation. Even though it doesn't mean much, as you say, sometimes junior devotees, they're more, absorbed and maybe have even more realizations, more bhakti. We don't know, Yes, but still we have to start somewhere, So that's the most common criteria. Then also the mere age. If a person is 30 years older, we consider them superior just because of their bigger life experience, or managerial position. So even if a person is more junior towards us, but he has a managerial position and we don't, we consider him superior. But then also that manager, out of Vaishnava humility, will say, no, you are actually senior, Yeah. And then also the ashram, renounced phase of life, sannyas, is always considered superior, even though a grihastha may be longer in Krishna consciousness or whatever. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives another funny criteria, which we usually don't hear so often. He says, he is superior who is bigger in body. Yes, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's what he says. Yeah? So, you don't like what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says? That's what he says. He who is bigger in body. Yes, I was laughing when I read that. So, when you have a tall person there, okay, I better take the humble position, That's what he says. Yes. So, but I mean, usually in our day-to-day life, we go according to when a person got first initiation, second initiation, Yes. But at the same time, Govinda Maharaj always says we should consider everybody else a Vaishnava, and I'm just aspiring to become one. Then we are on the safe side. But sometimes also we have to be humble and accept the superior position, because that can also be a whole false ego thing. Let's say we offer flowers to Prabhupada, and then, no, you go first, no, you go first, no, you go first, nobody wants to go first. So what is this? Let's be humble and accept, the position of taking the senior position so that Vaishnava etiquette can go on, otherwise it's a whole false ego thing there, Okay, so thank you very much for your kind attention. So tomorrow I'm giving the last program here, and the topic will be the Holy Name, deepening our relationship with the Holy Name. So please come. And if anybody wants to get some books, so please come now and talk to me. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai.